Now is Linda Burney, Shadow Families and Social Services Minister. Thanks very much for your time. So Labor's position on this, it was to support the taper off initially. The situation, though, has changed. According to Labor, the Victorian second wave essentially changes your view on JobKeeper from here on in?
Well, I'm primarily responsible for JobSeeker. And what we do know with JobSeeker is that the planned snapback in December is cruel, and the government needs to be clear about what their plans are. And what we have discovered, Tom, is that for all of Michael McCormack's rhetoric about plenty of jobs in the regions, it's actually dire in regional circumstances for people both on JobKeeper, particularly on JobSeeker, where there are only 28 people on JobSeeker to every one job. And in some regions, for example, regional Tasmania and regional Northern Territory, you're looking at not 28% unemployment, but actually 49%. It's just a horrendous situation.
Labor's position, though, how much is it predicated on the situation in Victoria? Because obviously Victoria right now is a very different economic situation to the rest of the country, right?
Oh, absolutely. And clearly things are extremely difficult in Victoria, and I think the whole country is feeling for Victorians and watching the debate down there, which is a debate that obviously is going to go forward. But obviously the situation in Victoria is dire compared to the rest of the country. I'm not saying it's not dire in the rest of the country. I'm just saying that Victoria is an exceptional circumstance, and therefore what's required in Victoria are exceptional carve-outs as well.
So would that mean JobSeeker perhaps could be higher in Victoria compared to the rest of the nation?
Well, JobSeeker and JobKeeper, if you listen to the government, are universal across all states and territories. And quite simply, Tom, Labor has not had a discussion about any particular carve-outs in relation to JobSeeker when it comes to Victoria. That's a discussion that we will have, obviously, but it is, without saying, difficult in Victoria, and I really commend Daniel Andrews, as much as the federal government is now trying to discredit him for the very hard decisions he is having to make.
We'll get to that in a moment, but when you say discussions to be had on JobSeeker, what do you mean discussions where that you could come to a view that there needs to be a separate and higher amount in Victoria?
Well, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that we have not had the discussion about whether or not there should be different rules applied to Victoria. And in essence, that's really a discussion for the government. And hopefully the government would consult with the Labor Party if they come to a different view. But
we know the situation. You know the situation here. So what's your view on whether or not there could be a separate JobSeeker rate in Victoria?
Well, it depends, obviously, very much on what packages are put together to support business, primarily in Victoria. JobSeeker is the old New Start for people that are unemployed, and clearly the economic circumstances in Victoria are going to be extremely difficult, which has implications for the whole of Australia. I'm not advocating a different rate at this stage, but what I am advocating strongly, Tom, is that the government needs to be clearer about what their plans are in relation to JobSeeker come December, which is a very potential cruel cutback just before Christmas for people right across the country. And the point that I'm making...
Right across the country, does that mean even JobSeeker, you think around the rest of the country, should no longer be tapered off. And what's the argument for that? Because economies, a lot of these economies are...
Sorry, I didn't quite hear your last point.
Well, so a lot of these economies, you know, are getting going again. There's a lot of reports that people, for example, in casual jobs and so on, who work a few hours each week, are happy to just take JobSeeker instead. It might be a pay increase, considering that JobSeeker is double the usual New Start. So isn't there a danger in having this inflated JobSeeker across the country?
It's a double at the moment, but on the 27th of this month, it reduces down to a $250 supplement with only a guarantee of that through to December. My argument is that the government must come out and let people on JobSeeker, remembering there are 740,000 Australians on this payment at the moment. They need to be clear about, firstly, what the plans are after December, and secondly, Labor is very strongly arguing that the government needs to be clear about a permanent increase to JobSeeker. It is intolerable, Tom, that children are living in poverty in Australia, and our arguments, I think, have a lot of credibility.
So, but just on the JobSeeker in the near term, do you support the taper rate that is happening through to December?
Labor has accepted the taper rate to $250, but we are saying clearly, and I think you've heard our leader, Anthony Albanese, make the point that JobSeeker is an important payment to lift people out of what we know to be poverty, to lift people out of the situation of being able to put fresh food on the table and send their children to school comfortably.
Labor's clear on an increase to New Start, if we call it that, the old JobSeeker, but it's not clear on an amount still. Will we get an amount from Labor? What it should be
eventually,
before the next election?
I am in no hurry, and I won't be hurried into a recommendation.
But will you do it before the election?
It's really important, Tom, that the government, and they are the people that have the modelling, they are the people that have the resources. They sit on the.
But you can model what someone needs. If this needs to be something people can survive on, you don't need government modelling for that. Labor can do that itself. Will you have an amount before the next election that you think it should be?
We obviously take this extremely seriously, but we have not come to a view yet on what the permanent
I know you haven't yet,
increases
but will
should
something
be.
come before the election?
Well, obviously, that's something that's important for us to consider. But my point is this, is that the government needs to make an announcement on a permanent increase now. There's been no discussions with Labor about that. There is a complete unknown, and I'm arguing that when you look at regional unemployment and the amount of people predicted to go onto JobSeeker before Christmas, the government needs to take away the uncertainty.
Linda Burney, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.